Look at a map of the world. The nation of Israel takes up just a tiny fraction of the globe, and it has a relatively small population. Yet it commands a level of global attention and military focus that far outweighs its size. To understand why, you have to zoom in even further, past the national borders, down to a single 37-acre plot of land right in the heart of Jerusalem. This tiny rectangle serves as the historical and spiritual foundation for 3 world religions. For Judaism, this site is the most sacred place on earth. In 1447 BC, King Solomon built the first temple here. After the temple was destroyed and the Jewish people were exiled across the globe, they continued to pray toward this specific spot for thousands of years, specifically toward what remains today, the Western Wall. Christianity's roots are intertwined with this same geography. Jesus of Nazareth was crucified under Roman rule in Jerusalem, leading Emperor Constantine to eventually build the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, less than 2 kilometers from the Jewish temple site. By 638 AD, the region became central to Islam. Muslim tradition holds that the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven from a rock on this very site, an event commemorated by the construction of the Golden Dome of the Rock. Adjacent to the dome sits the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Today, Muslims refer to this entire 37-acre compound as Haram al-Sharif, while Jews know it as the Temple Mount. For centuries, these communities coexisted under various imperial rules. But because their most sacred beliefs are tied to the exact same stones, the area became a geographic epicenter where religious conviction and territorial claims cannot easily be separated. In the late 19th century, severe persecution of Jews across Europe sparked Zionism, a political movement calling for the diaspora to return to their ancestral land and establish an independent state. During World War I, the British government sought to influence Jewish populations in Russia and America to support the war effort. This led to the Balfour Declaration, an official statement favoring the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This chart shows shifting demographics under the British mandate. In 1878, roughly 25,000 Jews lived among nearly 500,000 Arabs. By 1914, that number grew to 85,000, continuing to climb as the British encouraged immigration into this densely populated area. The rise of Hitler and the Holocaust decimated European Jewish communities, leaving survivors with few options for refuge. Fleeing systemic extermination, hundreds of thousands of refugees arrived in Palestine, seeking safety in their historic homeland. These waves of migration, combined with the collapse of British colonial authority, turned a historical religious site into a volatile territorial struggle. By 1947, Britain could no longer control the escalating violence. They handed the issue to the newly formed United Nations, which created a special committee to find a solution. The UN proposed splitting the land into 2 separate states, one Jewish, one Arab, though the Jewish population owned only 6. Jerusalem was the exception. Given its religious significance, the UN designated it an international zone. Jewish leaders accepted the partition, seeing it as the only path to legal statehood. Arab nations and Palestinian leaders rejected it, viewing the division of their inhabited land by foreign powers as a violation of their rights. By drawing borders in a boardroom, the UN overlooked the physical and emotional ties people held to specific villages and holy sites. Rather than bringing peace, the plan made an immediate military conflict inevitable. The moment the British officially withdrew in 1948, the new state of Israel was immediately attacked by a coalition of 5 neighboring Arab nations. Despite being outnumbered, Israel survived the invasion. By the time a ceasefire was signed, they had captured significantly more territory than the UN had originally proposed, leaving the Palestinian state in fragments. Conflict erupted again in 1956 during the Suez Crisis, when Israel joined the UK and France in an attack on Egypt after the strategic Suez Canal was nationalized and Israeli shipping was blocked. The balance of power shifted decisively in 1967 during the Six-Day War. In less than a week, Israel defeated the combined armies of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, seizing control of Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. These military victories established Israel as the region's dominant power, but they also brought millions of Palestinians under Israeli military rule, transforming the struggle from a war between states into a decades-long occupation. With their conventional armies defeated, Palestinian resistance shifted to the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or PLO. Under Yasser Arafat, they began using guerrilla tactics and international pressure to challenge Israeli control. This era was marked by high-profile attacks, including the hijacking of dozens of airplanes and the assault on Israeli athletes during the 1972 Munich Olympics, which brought global attention to the Palestinian cause. Peace seemed possible in 1993 with the Oslo Accords. Israel agreed to a path for Palestinian self-rule in Gaza and the West Bank. But the process stalled as Israel continued to build settlements in those territories, and local trust evaporated on both sides. As the promise of diplomacy faded, the radical group Hamas gained strength, launching rocket attacks from Gaza and triggering a cycle of heavy military retaliation that continues to define the modern conflict. This prolonged stalemate has forced international players to navigate a complex diplomatic tightrope. India, for instance, once voted against the 1947 partition in support of the Arab world, but has since built a deep strategic partnership with Israel, a shift capped in 2017 when Narendra Modi became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit the country. Despite every treaty and border change of the last 70 years, the central issue remains unresolved. Until there is a solution for how two peoples can share the overlapping 37 acres of Jerusalem, the region remains caught in a cycle where neither side can fully achieve peace.
If you value clarity over chaos, explore more on Clear Lens X.